As the story begins, children are seen to be harvesting tomatoes. Nearby, others play amongst themselves, running around and laughing, all wearing school uniforms. Watching the scenery from above is Mimihime, who is daydreaming when her friend Tokio comes to remind her of the upcoming class. Despite there being no announcement about it, Mimihime claims that today a test will be held. As the girls head to class, it is revealed that the teachers of this school are robots. Moreover, a test really is taking place. While the students take the test, the atmosphere is rather lax and peaceful. Tranquility appears to be in the air, however, Tokio notices something. All of a sudden, her computerized test glitches and beneath the test appears an ominous message, "Do you want to go outside of the outside?" With a dramatic shift in the scene, two teens appear on the surface. Surrounded by ruins of the modern era, the duo seem to be in a dystopian world. They walk around town, which looks completely desolated and abandoned, with vegetation engulfing all the structures as far as the eye can see. Maru, one of the teens, suggests that they go look for treasures, and hence, they decide to break into one of the abandoned houses. They find one which is yet to be looted, and they then break inside, gathering all the sanitary products they can scavenge. After Kiruko, the other teen, takes a quick bathroom break, they head upstairs to explore the upper floor, but they stumble upon something quite disturbing, the decomposed human corpses of a couple. Kiruko claims that this is not unusual, revealing that most of the people who survived the Great Collapse ended up dead due to starvation. Thinking that no food remains in this house, they head to the next one. Eventually, they find a rather glamorous house, deciding to rest there and eat some food. Unfortunately, they find nothing to eat and are forced to use their canned food ratio. Kiruko, thinking the weeds growing by will provide some nourishment, adds some to their meal, but they end up ruining the flavor. As they both choke and argue, nightfall soon approaches. While Maru rests, Kiruko intently looks at a photograph of two men, some people she wants to meet. Moreover, she wants to help Maru reach his destination, revealed to be a place known as Heaven. Meanwhile, out in the wilderness, a raging thunderstorm lights up the entire night sky while a giant crow-like monster comes roaring from within the storm. The next morning, the duo depart on their journey once again, but have no clues or leads for their objective. Therefore, Kiruko suggests they start to look for other people who might give them some info, and they head towards places they think might be somewhat lively. And their plans works out, well, kind of. The duo runs into a ragtag group of people who are fully armed with blades and pipes, and the group surrounds them. Nonetheless, they all get scared when Kiruko pulls out a gun, prompting the men to tuck their tails and run. However, one of the men notices something is off, realizing that Kiruko's gun doesn't look real. Hearing this, Kiruko tries to flee from this situation as the men move in to attack. Accordingly, Maru covers for her, using his insane martial art moves to subdue the attacks. Kiruko, on the other hand, notices that things are getting heated, and so she finally uses her gun, unleashing a laser beam which melts the street light nearby and injures the attackers. Consequently, the duo decides to take them hostage and head to their lodging. Once there, they recharge their batteries using a generator and also get some info about Heaven. They learn of a place known as Tomato Heaven and begin to make their way there. Meanwhile, back at the school, Tokio asks how Mimihime knew about the test, but she claims it was all just hunch, beraying the conversation with comical remarks. With classes now over, the girls buy some drinks and head deeper inside some woods to relax. There, Mimihime asks what Tokio was murmuring about during the test. Even Tokio herself doesn't know how to respond to this strange occurrence and tries to evade the question, but Mimihime pries deeper. She asks her friend about her thoughts on the outside. Tokio doesn't really understand the question, but Mimihime explains that she means outside this wall. Suddenly, a huge wall is shown, revealing the children have never stepped foot outside these walls, unaware that there exists an entire world behind it. Nevertheless, Mimihime has a hunch that there exists something. She claims that recently she has been able to imagine the outside world much more clearly, adding that two people help her when she thinks about the outside. Furthermore, she states that one of the two people looks exactly like Tokio. This conversation leaves her with unease, so much so that she is unable to sleep that night. Consequently, she goes out for a walk and encounters the director of the facility. Upon seeing her, Tokio shares her unease about the outside with the director, who is shocked to hear her concern. Hearing this, the director claims that this was bound to happen one day, eventually coming clean and telling Tokio that there does indeed exist a world outside these walls. On the other hand, Maru and Kiruko happen upon a small farm. Residing there is a middle-aged woman who lives alone and runs this farm. She provides them both with shelter and food. Not long after, they head to enjoy the hot bath this kind stranger has allowed them to use, where Kiruko undresses, revealing the giant scars and wounds on her fragile naked skin. After bathing, they explore more of the house. In addition, Kiruko finds a gun case and asks the lady why she has it. As a result, the woman explains that a monster roams around in these parts at night. Hearing this, both Maru and Kiruko get spooked. They think this monster might be the man-eater and tell the woman that they might be able to kill it, but she seems afraid of this announcement. Later that night, the old lady offers the duo some dinner. There, she expresses her concern about Maru and Kiruko's relationship, but Kiruko claims that he is just an object under her protection. This makes Maru upset and he begins to act all distant the rest of the night. She tries to confront him about this, but Maru just turns his back and sleeps. Therefore, Kiruko also heads to her bed when suddenly, she gets a spell of dizziness. She barely manages to get into her bed, almost passing out on the floor. However, this isn't mere tiredness or something like that, rather it is seen to be a ploy by the old friendly lady. She is seen loading up her gun like she is preparing for something when all of a sudden, the giant crow-like monster from before lands right beside her room. On the other hand, Tokyo is intently listening to the director's words, completely hooked, and accepts that a world outside this facility exists. Regardless, the director adds that the outside world is a filthy place, a hell where monsters lurk amidst the dark. After this revelation, Tokyo continues her ordinary days. All that has changed is that she thinks more and more about the outside world, speculating about what really lies behind these walls. With her is a sickly child who claims that there is an outside without a doubt, pointing out how their food and other supply just pop out of the vents. Suddenly, the sickly boy feels a sudden pain, prompting him to return back to his room. Being left alone, Tokyo also heads back, but she encounters two other students. These two girls are passionately sharing a kiss and seem unfazed when they notice Tokyo staring at them. Moreover, they just giggle and run away. In addition to all this, Tokyo also bumps into Kyuku, an athletic schoolmate of hers, who has a drawing from one of their friends, Conan. Seeing the picture, Tokyo claims that Conan promised to give the picture to her, but gives up on it after learning how much Kyuku wants it. She then begins to run to Conan, who is sitting with Mimihime, and vents her frustrations to him, asking why he gave the drawing to Kyuku and not her. To console her, Conan claims that he will draw the next picture specifically for her, making Tokyo feel a whole lot better. Meanwhile, a fellow classmate there is watching this scene from his room, where he is seen to be working on all kinds of gadgets and technology. Later that night, he gets a message from Mimihime, which makes him turn bright red. The message is revealed to be a picture, and not just an ordinary picture, but a picture of Mimihime taking a shower. Tokyo, in the meantime, is extremely delighted after getting more of Conan's drawings and happily displays them on her wall. On the other hand, Kiruko wakes up from her deep slumber in a cold sweat. Almost instantly, she starts to hear an eerier, creepy voice from behind her. With a quick glance, she sees a monster standing right outside her window, and she slowly begins to reach for her laser gun, trying not to attract the monster's attention with hasty movements. But the beast disappears just as quickly as it appeared. Not wasting a single moment, she then wakes Maru up and they both try to escape this lodging. However, they find themselves locked in. The doors are shut using a broom, leaving the duo no other choice than to escape from the bathroom. After getting out, Kiruko explains to the sleepy Maru that the old lady fed them some sleeping drugs. Not long after, they find the old lady bearing arms standing out in the open. The lady is seen to be cautious and is standing guard. Upon seeing the teens, she tells them to go inside as it's extremely dangerous there. Regardless, Kiruko refuses and states that she and Maru can kill this monster. Catching a glimpse of the beast, the duo dash towards it in the dead of night. After getting close to this crow monster, Maru analyzes its combative abilities. Despite the amazing power their foe possesses, the duo doesn't give up. Soon, Maru gets done with his speculation and Kiruko prepares to shoot the enemy. Nevertheless, the old lady intervenes and stops them. She desperately tells Kiruko to not shoot, claiming that this bird monster is in actuality her son. She even goes as far as to make up a story about how her son, who is clearly a conscienceless and soulless monster, is in reality nice, stating that it once saved her life. Hearing her pleas, Kiruko decides to spare this monster. Anyway, she is all out of batteries to deal with the beast and can't do much. As the lady is happy that her son gets to live, she gets closer to the monster. But this proves to be a fatal mistake. As she confidently hugs the beast, displaying how peaceful it is, she gets her head chopped off in a single swift motion. The monster then begins to consume the lady's cold, lifeless body as Maru and Kiruko watch these events unfold with distress, terror, and disgust in their eyes. Nonetheless, from this fatal mistake, Kiruko learns of the monster's flaw. She figures out the weakness in his attack pattern, and Maru manages to kill the beast by exploiting said weakness, despite being in tears after witnessing the horrendous scene. Soon after, the duo depart on their journey once more. They follow the leads they previously got and roam around. Eventually, Kiruko tells Maru to tell her everything he can recall. She wants to quickly fulfill her mission, bodyguarding Maru until he reaches heaven, but the mission has little to no info to go off on. She expresses how if they keep chasing these dead-end leads, they will not be able to find heaven. And so Maru decides to reveal the mission he was assigned and shows Kiruko a syringe. According to him, he has to inject this syringe filled with an unknown drug into a person with the same face as him. This person resides in heaven. This makes Kiruko recalls her last moments with Mikura, the person guarding Maru before her, who was the one who gave the laser gun to Kiruko in the first place. At last, they reach a farming village and met the leader, Kusakabe. As they get to know more about the origins of this village, they decide to spend the night here. Although Maru is impressed with how this place started with just pure willpower and hard work, Kuruko seems somewhat concerned and thinks something fishy is going on. All of a sudden, their conversation is interrupted by someone who recognizes Kuruko as Kuruko Takaya, a famous electric kart racer. He claims to be a huge fan of hers and expresses how worried he was when she disappeared from the electric kart scene 5 years ago. Nevertheless, Maru tells him to leave him alone. However, something catches his eye. He sees a familiar mark on some boxes lying around. Figuring out that these boxes have the same logo as Kuruko's weapon, they learn from Kuruko's fans that this box is likely from Tokyo. As such, Kuruko theorizes that they might be able to find a connection to Maru if they retrace this box path, and so they get on a ship on its way to Tokyo. On the ship, Maru reveals that he has feelings for Kuruko, claiming that he loves her. Hearing this, Kuruko begins to blush profusely, and Maru decides to use this chance to kiss her. Nevertheless, she is too embarrassed to do so and refuses, making the atmosphere very awkward. Moreover, Kuruko also lets out a secret she's been keeping this entire time, stating that despite having the body of a woman, her mind is that of a man. And so she is a man, or at least according to her. That was all for today. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for the next part.